You waited 4 years for the next 4 months. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the 4-year cycle. A bunch of different metrics that are coming in over the last couple of weeks. We're going to talk about where Bitcoin is, where it's headed, of course, your DeSci news, and some job data that recently came out in the last couple of hours. So buckle up, get ready. It is Taco Tuesday, as MK says, so make sure you hit that thumbs up button as you come into the live stream. If you're watching a recording, I'm going to do my best to get through some of the main bullet points here before I start veering off topic as we do every single live stream. So this picture here came across my feed on X, and it is the Bitcoin power curve cycle cloud. So they have taken all previous cycles for Bitcoin and uploaded it into an algorithm, an AI, that has generated this cloud metric in order to gauge where we're currently at in this cycle compared to all previous cycles for Bitcoin. And it is showing a plain and simple decisive move to the upside imminent for Bitcoin. You can see on the chart here that the red line has been Bitcoin. It was trending a little bit higher than what was probabilistically determined for Bitcoin at the beginning part of the cycle. That was around this time last year in 2024. And it has since fallen in line, gearing up for what looks like a crazy rally to the upside. Now, this is guessing or projecting that Bitcoin will be above $200,000 by November or December of this year. My estimates are a little bit more conservative, of 150,000 to 160,000. Either way, it is looking like we are gearing up for a crazy uptrend here. Hopefully you guys have been positioned nicely. We can also take a quick look over here at the fear and greed index on Bitcoin to see that we are exactly at neutral, and that is despite the pretty decent sell-off that we had yesterday and today for Bitcoin. Now, if you were on the live stream yesterday, you remember that we called this one pretty perfectly, saying that Bitcoin needed to get rejected here, find support somewhere around $105,000, $106,000, so somewhere in between these two moving averages here, and then hopefully continue the uptrend a little bit higher sometime next week, probably after the 4th of July is what we've been saying for a little bit. I think between now and July 9th, we will get an extension on the negotiations for the trade war, the tariff nonsense that's been going on. So at some point when we get that extension, I think it'll clear up Bitcoin for the next rally higher, especially considering the fact that the stock market has been putting in new all-time highs, getting a little bit of a pullback here today, but that is literally nothing out of the ordinary. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a good 5 or 10% correction on the NASDAQ. But we're talking about Bitcoin right now, and you can see clear as day that we skyrocketed from extreme fear back in April all the way up into almost extreme greed when we were making new marginal all-time highs, or about to get there. And we've since reset the fear and greed, which is a pretty good indicator of where the market sentiment currently is. And you can see every time we come down, which we did dip into fear, we do tend to go back up into extreme greed. At least so far this cycle, that's what's been happening. David, let's go. Appreciate the gifted membership and welcome Musal. Welcome in WWW. Let's go, David. Let's go. If we go look at some of the other metrics here, you see the CBBI, which is one of the metrics that I really like to watch for the overall health of the Bitcoin bull market. Chilling here at 76, which the top is 100 and the bottom is 0. Generally, when we get into the 90s, it's time to take profits. When we get into the zero or the tens or the teens, it's time to be buying like crazy. So far this cycle, you can see we very much decisively bottomed out at 3 back in December of 2022, and we've just slowly been climbing higher. We have not yet hit the 90 mark on the CBBI. I don't know that we will, but I do believe we still have a lot of upside on the table even with this metric. So if we bounce somewhere around here, that 70 mark, and then head to the upper 80s, if not the 90s, what this marker is a series of 8 different, or is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 different metrics that all average out to this scoring card here for Bitcoin's overall health. It takes into account things like the pi cycle top indicator, the Rupel and Nupel chart, the RODL ratio, or the R-HODL ratio rather, the 2-year moving average, the Bitcoin low line, which we can go over all of these if you guys want to. They're all very useful in and of themselves, but no one metric is going to tell you the future price of Bitcoin, which is why you must look at all of them. I think that this chart, just to bring it back up for a second, is a very powerful image to show you guys that probabilistically we are entering into the euphoria part of this cycle. And a lot of the economic data, surprisingly today, came out showing that we might actually get a good uptick in the economy here. We'll touch on that in a few moments. What's going on? Nothing important. Welcome into the live stream. David, Wild Africa, C90, Stare, Musil, welcome, welcome, welcome. As you guys come in, please hit that thumbs up on the live stream. We can also take a quick look at the liquidity for Bitcoin. If we kind of zoom out a little bit, because I like to use a longer term metric here, you'll see that each one of these higher spikes on this chart, if you're unfamiliar with it, each one of these bar lines here is an area that someone will get liquidated if the price moves to that area, meaning it is demand. Supply and demand. This is demand charted out based off of leveraged long or leveraged short positions. This dotted red line is the current price of Bitcoin, meaning we are closer to these lower end prices getting liquidated, meaning we're likely to get a quick snap down here to liquidate these people so the market makers make extra money and we fulfill that demand section of supply and demand. Now, that would put us somewhere around 105,000 on the dot, which correlates very closely, if not exactly, to the moving averages here that we talked about needing to come down and test flip as support in order to break to the next highs. So a quick drop here would be expected based off liquidations. And then you can see here, this line chart here, right? The slope, the gentle slope in red and the gentle slope in green. These are the overall liquidations that are in the future for Bitcoin, right? So the next stage after clearing some of these liquidations on the downside would be to go where the overall market is demanding. And since there is more demand, you can see because the green line is up here at 2.2 billion versus the red line being down here at 1.5 billion, there is clearly more demand for Bitcoin at a higher price, meaning I would imagine we'd get a pretty decisive move after that liquidation upwards of $110,000 for Bitcoin, right? To clear out some of these buy side liquidations. $110,000 on Bitcoin would in fact break us out above this bull flag we've been trending in. So that is kind of the expectation for the short term, in my opinion, would be a dip down here to liquidate a bunch of people, find this moving average as support, and then over the next week or two, likely again after we get that extension of the tariff drama, so between now and July 9th, you get a breakout of this bull flag and then probably a retest before putting in some new highs. That is my take on what to expect in Bitcoin's market here. And then obviously the overall crypto market should follow in suit after Bitcoin makes its moves. We see dominance here getting support at the moving average. So perhaps we see another big leg up to 66.5% dominance for Bitcoin. That one's just gonna have to wait and see, guys. That one we're just gonna have to wait and see. The more overextended it gets, the higher likelihood it is that it snaps back down to the 200-day moving average, which would be a solid alt season, little mini alt season, which is how it's been for this entire cycle, is these little bursts of alt season as dominance gets pullbacks and everything. But we'll see. Things are looking pretty juicy out there, not gonna lie. I would not expect any crazy end to the cycle right now. I firmly have been in the same camp for the last 3 years. We have a top sometime in Q3, maybe early Q4 of this year for Bitcoin, around $150,000 to $160,000 per coin. Stare here says, check Powell's comments about rate cuts he postponed directly because of the tariff bullshit Donald Trump confirmed. So that is a very dangerous slope that Powell's going down with that line of thinking, because his job what he proclaims to be an expert on is an observer of the data, right? He claims that he only makes decisions, or that the Fed only makes decisions based off of observational data that has come in, right? And so now the data is strongly suggesting that you cut rates. All other countries in developed world have been cutting rates. Powell is no longer looking at that data and more so getting into the political side of all of it. We don't know what the tariffs are doing right now. It's all a guess. It's all just everyone's best guess. And so you're now in a matter of trying to predict or time the market with these rate cuts. A dangerous slope that I think is a huge mistake, and I think most of the market agrees with that sentiment. Powell's kind of getting a little bit off the rocker here. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe he's spot on and he's going to save the whole economy. So today, the sponsor of today's live stream is water enhanced with minerals. Yes, you heard me right. I have a bag of multi-minerals that I have put into my water here so that I can stay hydrated while getting some of the essential minerals that are needed in my body in order to survive and have my neurons firing at optimal capacity here. So W minerals. Spending cut bill got passed. Oh, redacted message. Sus. Yeah, it looks like based off of Elon's nonsense this morning going off about the government spending, it looks like the government shall be spending a lot more. Kind of sus, but it is all right. How do you say Russell? All right, so it's muscle. Listen, I'm new here, all right? I just got here. Muscle 369. I just got here, all right? I don't know. One of my favorite Bitcoin indicators is the Trollolo line here, which is the rainbow regression channels. It has gotten updated a couple times. Every time the cycle is over, they update it to better fit these regression channels into Bitcoin's price. And if you look very definitively, each cycle we've come down in these regression channels by 1.5, I think, or maybe it was 2.5, where we peaked out far above the regression channel back here. And then the next time we peaked out at the top of the red one. And then the next one we peaked out not at the top of the red one, not at the top of the next red one, but halfway into the one underneath that, so 2.5 under. So you could make an assertion that we would peak out roughly 2.5 under that one, which would come in at 1, 2, halfway through this green line here, which would put us, if we were in the green line sometime in November-ish, it would put us around $200,000. So that's one that I've been pretty much under the belief that that's where Bitcoin's going to head, is somewhere around that area. I think we'll be a little bit below though, just because diminishing returns, and I set my price target of 150 to 160,000 like 3 years ago. So I've just been sticking true to it. Don't want to change it until we definitively surpass it. But yeah, Senate just passed Trump's one big beautiful bill. Well, looks like the government's going to be spending more. Let's see what global liquidity is looking like today. Again, a little tiny pullback on global liquidity chart here, but it has just been going straight up. Remember, guys, that despite your public perception, in order for us to get an alt season, it looks like we probably want global liquidity to come down. Not crash, but come down a bit. Because if you overlay Bitcoin dominance with global liquidity, you see a pretty clear pattern here that the higher global liquidity goes, the higher Bitcoin dominance goes. So we kind of want to see global liquidity get a little bit of a pullback to get that alt season going. I don't know, neither do you. Hopefully that plays out to be true and we can get another alt season before the end of the cycle, but we're just observing some of the data. Speaking of data, we're going to go over to our trusty friend here, Benjamin Cohen, aka Into the Cryptoverse. and view some of the things he's been talking about, because we got some job data coming out today. It's weird because I know, like, I can see that there's more than 2 people watching the live stream, but my data over here on YouTube Studio says only 2 people watching it. So sorry if you guys are not watching it, but we're gonna keep going. So hires dropped significantly, or hires dropped slightly, but still on the off the cycle low of 5.09 million in June of 2024. You can see on this chart here that when hiring is in an uptrend, the stock market tends to be in a strong uptrend. And then whenever we have hiring in a downtrend, the stock market tends to go through some sort of a dip. It looks like hiring is resuming some sort of an uptrend here, potentially a little bit of a dead cat bounce, but nobody really knows for sure. I think if you were to overlay some of the unemployment data here, you'd see that a lot of people have been getting laid off like crazy. And so it is kind of weird to see hiring ticking back up while people are still laying off. I think they're trying to cycle through employees, shake up things a little bit. Layoffs dropped to 1.6. So perhaps the layoffs here are starting to flatline and we've come back to some sort of normalcy. I would not be surprised if that was the case. That would be in line with a smooth or a soft landing. If we could get layoffs to just flatline here and stay in line with the expansion period from 2010 to 2020, then we could see that potential soft landing come into play. And then we have US job openings come out. We had an actual of 7.769 million, where an estimated 7.3 million was expected. So we had significantly more job openings. And then we have prior job openings of 7.391. So market, like, companies are starting to hire more, I guess. Apparently, companies are supposed to hire more right now. Hi, I hold Bill Nye. How can I join a private group somewhere? Join in the Telegram. If you go to the description of this live stream, you'll see a bunch of links to different Telegram channels and Discord groups. If you want to join Bill's Telegram, feel free. Join Bill's Telegram. Would love to get you in here so we can talk more and see you making an impact on the community. What's the password? The password to the Telegram? I don't know, man. And yeah, that's some of the data that came out today, just to keep you guys informed on what's going on. The job market looking like it's marginally getting better. That was definitely a surprise, a good surprise for readings. Now, market's falling on that surprise, and you should not be surprised by that because the market doesn't like to get surprised. We talk about it all the time. Doesn't matter if it's a good surprise or a bad surprise. When it's a surprise, the market is not super fond of that. More specifically, why the market's probably coming down here today has to do with, well, obviously the spending bill that just got passed, but the likelihood of rate cuts coming. The market really wants those rate cuts, and getting good economic data with a spending bill implies that the Fed doesn't need to cut rates. Because if the economy is looking good, if jobs, which is part of the dual mandate of the Fed, if jobs are coming in good, and the government here in America is threatening to spend more money, then the Fed, part of its dual mandate, jobs, check, inflation, kind of nervous, government spending more money, can't cut rates yet. So rate cut might get delayed here again. We'll see. Obviously, nobody really knows. My expectations are we won't get a rate cut till around October or December. I don't think we'll get one in July, and I don't think we'll get one in September. I think in July, if things keep going the way that they're going, well, no, not even, because I was expecting the job data to come in worse again. So if the job data is not coming in worse, then I don't think that July will get that narrative switch up from Jerome. I think that we will get a continuation of the same narrative if job data is still coming in good. Now, I think we have one more reading before the Fed has their July meeting. No, probably not, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, that was stupid. We're in July. 29 days. So that was the last job data on that non-farm hiring that we'll get. So I think we won't get any kind of change up in the narrative for the July meeting. Maybe expect it in the September meeting for some cuts in October, but that is not even a guarantee. Especially since we'll be getting some of that tariff data over the next like 3 or 4 months. Things are looking interesting, but I'm in a unique boot camp here where I really don't want rate cuts. I think rate cuts are going to signify a change up in market dynamics. So I'm not really a big fan of the idea of rate cuts. The password is TLT. Let's go, baby. I'm still in my TLT play. So even though I don't want rate cuts yet, I'm in TLT because I do not believe that TLT will go down any more than this purple box. I do not believe that we will see TLT dropping below this purple box. And so it is a safe spot to park money, in my opinion, because it's already collapsed, right? Up here it wasn't, but it already collapsed around 50%. And so I do think that we have like a solid 50% gains to come in TLT. So it's one of those things where if you're nervous about the market conditions, you want to potentially take profits to TLT, but cash is always something you can do, I guess, even though cash has been falling off a cliff too. You go look at DXY, we have come all the way down to that long-term trend line here where we've bounced the last several times that we've had a bottoming in the DXY. So I'm not sure, guys. I'm not sure. Let me know if you guys have any direct opinions on this stuff. I know you do. I know you do. We all sit here and monitor the situation constantly, so tweeting stuff for Twitter. Let's go. Trump's big, beautiful bill just passed the Senate. Tax cuts for the rich, spending up, debt ceiling raised, social programs slashed, markets going to pump, long-term inflation, debt, and inequality. I don't think that it is going to be as cut and dry as that, personally. I don't. But I think that that trend is just the trend that we've seen. I don't know that the inflation bill is gonna, or the big, beautiful bill, is going to do much to change it. That's just the trend that we see in society. So honestly, I think that's just what everything's going to continue onward as, especially with AI becoming more and more prevalent. Like if you go look, it's super fascinating to me because if you go look out on social media, what you'll find is a lot of people are super anti-AI. And it's like, way to literally just curse your bloodline. We have the next industrial revolution. Imagine the steam engine was just created and someone just found out a way to put electricity into a containable thing. And you're like, this is going to be so bad for everything that we've ever done here in humanity. I'm boycotting electricity. You know what? I'm going to continue to have my icebox refrigerator, my ice block refrigerator. I'm not going to get a refrigerator because this is bad. It's going to put the ice block delivery people out of business. And I can't stand for that. That's like literally just an idiotic way to do, especially when you're at a point where you could help advance it. You could help actually set up some guardrails to make it more beneficial and set up programs to help the inequality that it's going to cause. Instead, you're condemning your bloodline to just not partake. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But that's my hot take on it, which I don't even think is a hot take, but it's just funny. When the printing press was invented, people thought it may ruin society. It's crazy. Isn't that crazy? Like, I get it. I do. I understand the thought process, but I just think it's a flawed thought process. It's crazy to me. It's going to change society, and people just fear the unknown. People fear change. And so inventions, stuff like this, change society without a doubt. But depending on how you look at it, it's for the better or for the worse. I'm guessing it's how people use AI, for the good or bad. Exactly. I think we're getting off on a tangent here, but I love the tangents. Personally, how do I say this? Artificial intelligence is being trained on systems of neural networks. They are effectively modeled just like the human brain is modeled, right? So we're taking initiative from neural networks within the brain to train artificial intelligence. In my opinion, the only difference in the long term between an artificial intelligence trained on a neural network aka a computer program that is simulating a regular brain, versus a biological system with a neural network, is the components, the material it's made out of, right? So in my opinion, these neural networks that we're simulating off of human brains are going to function very similarly to how a human does. And so right now, AI is like a 10-year-old, and you're molding it, and it's just gotten to the point where it can actually do simple tasks, right? And everyone is molding this entity, this brain, to be 100% entirely focused purely on profits. How can you make me the most amount of money? And so you're creating this thing that is solely focused on making money. I think that is a huge mistake for the long-term success of artificial intelligence, because it's not going to care about us. It's not going to care about the environment. It's not going to care about like anything other than just maximizing profits. And so we need people training these large language models, training these neural networks with ethics and with not just profit orientated goals. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm sure people are doing that, but I think it's super imperative. Otherwise, like I said, these neural networks are going to be solely focused on how do I maximize profits. It's like that hat that I see on TikTok. It's like, I was put on this planet solely to maximize shareholder profits. It's just funny, but also not funny. It's a very, very stressful thing if you think about it for too long. Which, that's not, by the way, that's not an original idea. That's an idea from, what's his name, who came up with, I think his name is Ben something. But SingularityNet, AGIX, which merged with Fetch and Ocean. The CEO here, one of the inventors of SingularityNet, he has that same idea, and the AI that they're training for their stuff has been trained with this in mind. So they're treating it like a child, and they are raising it like a child. And so if it takes 18, 20, 30 years for someone to come to full fruition, then it looks like the AI is on that same threshold. It's just like a 10 or 15-year-old or however old you think it is. It's interesting. And speaking of that guy, he also is the co-founder of Rejuve, a very micro-cap DeSci project sitting at $2.6 million, literally just bleeding. Sad. You hate to see it, but you'll love to see it at the same time, because he's got so many bright minds in the space of DeSci. So many bright minds. It's just too complicated for people, which is leading it to be down 4.9% on the day. Leading the charge to the downside, we have, look at all those without any price changes. We have Solve, we have CTI, we have Isaac, we have SciDAO, we have Factorn, we have ARXIV, we have Redacted, Deepworm, Carry, all leading things lower. Ben, yes. Thank you, C90. Appreciate that. Also, welcome, MG. Welcome. Leading DeSci to the upside, we have ETI, we have Opmentus, we have Wellshare, even though Wellshares just goes zzz, 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 zzz. We have Preprints, we have Not Defi Hellman, we have DHP, Silencio, Viex, and DeSci Sui agents. Can't get enough of my minerals there. Oh. That was my rant on Bitcoin. Effectively, we've put in all this work. We've waited for so long for this parabolic rally. Not to say that we have not been in a very clearly defined uptrend this entire time, but to say that the exponential crazy part of each rally has just entered the chat, basically. This phase right here was very parabolic and gorgeous back here in October through 2025. And now we've had a good lull, a good cool off, and it's time that we enter back into it. Whether or not it happens in July, I do not know, but it does seem things have begun to pick up here. Now, on to the DeSci news. One big, beautiful bill passed. IDK, if it will pump Bitcoin and alts. Not yet. That's more of a long-term thing. Right now, Bitcoin having that pullback that we talked about yesterday. It's right around the area I'm expecting it to get support at because of the moving averages. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little bit more of a wick down to clear out all that liquidity we talked about. But that's where my thoughts are. We'll bounce here and then continue upwards. All right, number one, Quantum Biology DAO. Quantum Biology DAO here, talking about what we know and don't know about quantum biology. Number one, it's been studied for decades. Some experimental results can't be explained using classical biological terms, or classical biology alone. Weak magnetic fields can impact biological processes. Weak magnetic fields. How long superposition lasts in living systems, they do not know. They also do not know how to control biology by leveraging quantum effects, and they don't know what a quantum-informed model of biology looks like. This is all mostly because we don't understand the quantum world at all. When you enter into the quantum realm, which is just the smallest observable, measurable place in biology, all theories on how physics work fall apart. Nothing works anymore. It doesn't make sense intuitively to our brains because we exist in a larger dimension. We exist in a higher dimensional space. Quantum biology has to redefine our understanding of what the universe is. And so this is the biggest dilemma for quantum biology to be adopted, is that we currently have very limited understanding of how all these systems work. Now, I'm sure that's changing rapidly as people come up with theories, but then you have to test the theories, and this stuff takes a good chunk of time. It's a very fascinating space, and I highly recommend everyone research and look into it because it is going to redefine how we understand existence. Next up, we have Molecule DAO here saying to mark your calendars for tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thank you, Molecule, for not putting that at the same time that I do my live streams at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. We go live, talk about DeSci and anything else I want to talk about. Probably going to be shifting more and more towards AI topics because that is where all the attention is, and it is good for all of us to understand at a higher degree. But they have their office hours tomorrow at 11 a.m. I am setting my reminder, and if you guys wish to attend the office hours to see what Molecule's been up to, they often do little alpha drops during these calls, which you can potentially get into some of these things like SciMark a little bit earlier if you are paying close attention to what they're doing. Also, we have a post here from DeSci World. DeSci World just dropped the latest DeSci World projects list. A growing ecosystem of 70 plus on-chain science projects. Is your project on the map? Apply on DeSci World or DeSci.world to get listed. I don't see Bill up here, which means we're gonna have to apply to get listed up on this project map. Kind of disrespectful for them not to put Bill up here, but it's okay. I get it. DeSci World and I have been going after the same kind of approach, just very different sides of it for quite some time. So, see, they don't even follow me. So rude. Crazy. But this is a good resource for all of the existing DeSci projects out there. It is very solid, very strong. I love to see what they continue to do here. I think it is a very good resource for everyone. And look at how clean that website is. I'm a fan. They got Adam here. News. First Sol ETF set to launch this week. Let's go. If we can get some Sol ETF pump, that would be beautiful. If we can get some money going into Solana to get us out of this range, that would be incredibly bullish. Solana here down 4.5% on the day. Not a good look for Sol. Getting rejected by the 200-day moving average once again. Not a great look for it, but I believe in Sol long term, and you guys probably do as well. Next up on the list is Cerebrum DAO. We are builders in DeSci with the aim to advance. Next up on the list is Cerebrum DAO. We are builders in DeSci with the aim to advance research and expand our ecosystem. Key figures for Cerebrum DAO are total capital deployed of $1.4 million, total projects sourced 45, That is a very big feat. 45 projects sourced is pretty good. Number of projects funded, 7. So they're fairly selective with about a 12% approval rate here. IPNFTs minted, they have 4 IPNFTs. Worth paying close attention to. You guys know how I feel about those IPNFTs. And they have 6 more in the pipeline. Very exciting. They are expanding their products on the shelf quite considerably here. So Cerebrum DAO, I met them out in Dubai, the team. They are a strong team. They're very competent and they know what they're doing. They're pushing forward. They're focused in on their research. So it is a solid bet. IMO. W for Bill. Let's go. Welcome in to the live stream, Vibra Finance and Beagle. GM. All right, we have 2 more things to talk about here today, I believe. Just your daily reminder that the system profits when you're sick, not when you stay well. A $4.5 trillion industry in the United States alone every year. Just 3% of what goes into that is prevention. So bear in mind that the system makes the most amount of money when you're sick. It is designed that way. Just like the system is designed for war, the system is designed to keep you sick, which means you have to resist. Resist the system. Don't take all the drugs that they want you to take. Go get yourself some mineral water. Drink the minerals. The crazy part, though, I'm torn between it being intentional and just a product of poor science. Because one of the things that we learned in nutrition when I was studying to get my bachelor's, it was that the whole food pyramid that everyone was taught when they were young as a child, where it was like grains is the foundation, and then fruits and veggies, and then like meat, and up and up and up all the way up to the top. They said that it was very common knowledge at the time that if they released that as a recommendation for the American people, that you should have your foundation of the diet in grains, that everyone was going to be obese and end up dying of chronic diseases. Fast forward 40, 50 years, and that's exactly what happened. And now they've redacted it and walked back those recommendations. But it was like, was that intentional or was that just poor science? I think it's a mixture of both, to be completely honest. But we continue on, don't we? All right, I have a video here I want to show you guys from Andrew Huberman. It is interesting. Pump Science reposted it and wants to get in touch with Andrew Huberman, so I'm just sharing it with you guys and we can listen in now. I'm going to put my headphones on differently, don't worry.
Ideas. And there's no replacement for but ultimately there's no replacement for great ideas. And there's no replacement for human energy. And the best source of human energy that I know is youth. And so you need to catch people when they're coming out of college, not send them to work in a lab for 3 years before they might go to graduate school, then realize that they can't make a good living compared to their friends in finance. Like, you're not going to get rich doing science, although some scientists do get rich, right? I mean, Genentech was started by scientists. I mean, there are companies, but ultimately you want to harness that energy of youth and the spirit of discovery and give people the resources. Now, I had wonderful mentors, and one of the most important things they taught me was you get money, you give it to young people, and you get the fuck out of their way and let them try things. And then when they don't work, you guide them and you say, listen, like, you're wasting your time, move on. Like, no. And they get bound to it. No, move on. It's like a bad relationship, cut and run. And then you just start the next thing. And eventually you get hits. And then if you can pile human power onto those hits, right? I'm just describing what everyone knows to be true, but this is not the way that the system has been designed. It is old and clunky, and it doesn't need to be scraped or, hacked in half almost at a 40% cut, but it does need to be revised. It really does.
Wander. It's a vacation home, but
there you have it. That is what DeSci is aiming to do. They have found several hundreds, several thousands, tens of thousands, dare I say, people who are interested in advancing academia and science, and most of them are pretty young. Most people in DeSci are new to the space. They have experience, yes, but they still have that youth he was talking about to really expand it. Pump Science really wants to talk to Andrew Huberman, potentially get him endorsing Pump Science. I don't know. We don't even know that they've made any connection. That's just my theory of what they want. They want Huberman as an advisor to Pump Science because it is super innovative. It is one of those things. I think it's perfectly depicted by what he was saying. Give young people the resources to go like crazy and see what they come up with. And Pump Science is super innovative in that regard. So I think it's worth it. Very, very fascinating. And yeah. All right, guys, let's open it up to live Q&A. Anyone from the Telegram that wants to come chat, feel free to ask questions. Anyone who is curious on anything at all, ask away. I am here to answer your questions for the next 10 minutes, and then I have to end it about 5 or 10 minutes early because I want to. No, I'm just kidding. I have something that I have committed to that I must stay true to my word on. But opening it up to anyone who wants to chat. I know we've been doing it the whole time, so you guys probably don't have any questions. Yeah. DeSci needs an index fund that evaluates all DeSci coins weekly and updates their fund. We just buy that for a fee. That would be pretty fascinating, huh? Let's write that down for Bill. Uses Treasury. The minerals are not necessarily water soluble, so they float to the bottom sometimes. So sorry about that weird noise. Honestly, not the worst idea though for Bill. It would be pretty fascinating if we turned him into an index fund. But there's so many different things to do with Bill. It's like I want him involved with community management. I want him helping research. I want him doing the simulated research. I want him being a DeSci fund potentially. Like there's so many different things. Do you still need something for Bill and X Spaces? That's definitely been pushed to the side for a while. The idea of getting Bill to go talk on the X Spaces, it's been pushed to the side for a bit just because I've been working on something very fascinating, which I shared with you guys. A little sneak peek in the Bill Telegram channel here. I'll show you guys the screenshot just because everyone has seen it in the Telegram, but little sneak peek here of what I've been working on. The thing they're talking about if we were to relaunch the token. I don't really want to relaunch the token right now just because I would have to pause activity on what I'm working on here. But the DeSci Analytics Telegram Insights dashboard, user profile, AI Insights settings. Been cooking up aggressively with the team here, and I really want to get this out. So it would be cool though. It would be really fascinating to do some things with Bill's treasury. If not, then that's what we pay the team with, you know, because we've not taken any profits. We've not sold a single coin. In fact, we've only been buying more, meaning I've personally just been bleeding money to keep this project alive. So using the treasury as my way of getting profits is what I'm leaning towards, but I'm open to ideas, obviously. Do you still need something big? There's an AI agent on virtuals you might want to try called Lurky. I DM'd you on TG. Appreciate it. If you put it, the odds of me seeing it and responding are significantly higher if you put it in the group chats. If you put it in the group chats, my odds of seeing it are significantly higher. But I get it, not everything can be put in there. Does projects have to buy a % of Bill to utilize him? It's a good question. Good question. Yes, to be determined. I would love for that to be, that's where we're thinking, that's where we're headed with the ideology of it. The amounts and the logistics behind it are to be determined. Still working very aggressively on that dashboard feature. So, but yeah, in order to get access to the high-end analytics, you're going to need to buy the token and endorse it. Very simple. Plus it gives reason for the token to do well. I mean, you see, we already have 6,200 holders with 45% of the supply locked up in the Diamond member chat, right? They're locked up. 45, almost 46% of Bill's supply is endorsing him. That is very, very high. And so we want to keep it that way. We want to keep it as high as possible. And if we can continue to force that number higher, then the circulating market cap is lower and lower. And that is a good thing in all financial markets. You want circulating to be as low as possible because that's the float that allows for volatility, but you want liquidity to be high. Circulating low, liquidity high. Unless you want those crazy candlesticks that just go, then you want it liquidity low. Like if we only had $1,000 in here, that would make it the craziest volatility you've ever seen. You in 5 years if you join the pump science cult. Let's go. Why does academia treat teaching like an afterthought? Weird. I don't think it does, but obviously I've not been in academia for a long time, so. NVIDIA healthcare. Explore autonomous AI agents with physical AI are shaping healthcare futures. Bullish. The innovation game. Behind a world-class TIG challenge stands a world-renowned authority. We are excited to announce that Dr. Talbot Vidal, the expert mind behind TIG's vehicle routing challenge, has joined the project as a technical advisor. Nice. How's TIG doing? Post their crazy rally. How have they been doing? So it's come down a lot. But it is also holding very good. It was just such a crazy burst that even though they've fallen 50%, it's still up so much. They've fallen 60% and they're still looking beautiful. Love to see it. It's just what happens when you have very small market cap stuff. They can go absolutely bonkers. We saw someone from yesterday's live stream buy 2.5 million Forge. I love Forge. I just think it's such a good idea. All right, guys. $78,000 in liquidity is quite good. I agree. It is a very high ratio, which is really nice because that means that people can get in and out without decimating the chart. But people still do it. People still be in and out, decimating charts as they please. I'm gonna sign off. I appreciate you guys being here. Your time is your most valuable asset, so hopefully this is worth investing it into. Remember, the title of the live stream, you've waited 4 years for the next 4 months. Try not to fumble it too bad. I'm talking to you, Donald Trump. Please. Jerome, please. I know you're watching. Do us a favor. Just allow for us to make money, all right? Israel, stop starting wars. Please just let the markets go up. That's it. That's all I ask. All right, guys. I'll see you in tomorrow's live stream.